Welcome to Unstoppable, where dreams turn into plans and plans turn into powerful action. Hosted by Paula Swain, financial planner, business owner, grandma, and queen of reinvention. This show is for women ready to stop surviving and start thriving. We'll laugh, we'll learn, and we'll tackle the messy, beautiful, in-between parts of life that no one really talks about, but we all live through. This is Unstoppable.
Hello and welcome to Unstoppable. I am super excited today because I get to ask our regular host, Paula Swain of the Financial Center for Women, a bunch of questions that I know are always on my mind, especially when it comes to retirement planning. And she is just so amazing. As the founder of the Financial Center for Women and a financial planner, she has all of the answers that we're going to be asking her today.
Wait a minute. That's a lot of pressure on me. All the answers?
You have all the answers. Anytime I ask her a question.
I do have a lot of answers, but I don't know if I have all the answers. There's still some areas in my life that need some work.
Well, we're going to be talking about financial planning. And in that area, I think you have all of the answers.
I'm pretty good at it, I think.
So let's go ahead and talk about planning for retirement. Where do you start?
Well, I think the first place you start is really envisioning what that really looks like. It's really not about the numbers as much as because yes, you have to have some money. Yes, you have to have some income. Yes, we know all that. But we don't know how much of that you need until you start to figure out what it is that you want in your retirement. So for me, I when I retire, which I want to be able to travel, I want to spend a lot of time volunteering. I want to make sure all my bills are covered, right? I want to have enough income coming in to make sure that all my bills are covered. And then I want enough additional income coming in to do all the fun things. But if I don't know what those fun things are, how can I plan for my retirement? So I'm going to throw it back at you. What's one thing you want to do when you retire?
I want to travel a ton. I love to travel, and that is the biggest item on our retirement to-do list. And for the budget, it is actually significantly increasing our travel budget from what it is now.
Okay, so if you don't mind, throw that number out.
Right. Well, we were estimating about $14,000 a quarter.
Okay, so that's $56,000 for the year. So at minimum, you got to have that covered plus your regular expenses. So you may need well over $100,000 a year after taxes coming in. Mm-hmm. But if you sat down with someone today or sat down with me and said, "Oh, I just want to travel, and I think I want to do this, and maybe we're going to do this," and I'd be like, well, what does that look like? But you have a number. With that number, I can work. Without that, I don't know.
Yeah, and I came up with the number by just ballparking some cruises, and then I added inflation to it for when I retire.
Well, you don't have to do that because we'll do that for you.
Okay.
We'll take care of the inflation. That's an automatic. So you may even have more than you need if you already put inflation in.
No, I get more trips.
You get more trips.
I get to do more trips because there's so many things that I want to see on my bucket list.
That's when I talk to clients, they'll be like, well, I'm in Michigan now, but I'm thinking I might want to move down south, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And I'll be like, okay, well, what does that look like? Like, first of all, you say you want to go live in, I don't know, Nashville, Tennessee. Well, what does it cost to live in Nashville, Tennessee? I don't know, right? So you need to go on Zillow or whatever else it is and look at the cost of the home. I actually suggest that you go and rent a home for 3 months to figure out, do I even want to live here? What's it like? And not only, maybe it's a month in the winter, a month, each season of the year, and see what that's like before you make a decision that that's what you're going to do. And then you can see what it's going to cost. And all. Then we can make it a logical, educated decision and not just, I think I'm going to go live in Nashville.
Yeah.
That doesn't do anything.
Having that vision for what does retirement mean to you? How do you want to spend your days? Because it's totally different than what you're doing right now, especially if you work as much as I do. And I know you do.
Well, you think about it you go to work every day and you have coworkers, right? Your coworkers become your friends. Mm-hmm. And you have a relationship with them. You go out to happy hour after work and what do you spend? You spend, 8 to 10 hours a day with your coworkers? more than you do with your own family. Now that's that's a fun thing too, when that switches and now you're with your spouse, those extra 8 to 10 hours, that can really change some things in your relationship. So you got to be prepared for that. But when you're with your coworkers and they're your friends, and then you retire. And so I'm retiring, but my friend coworkers have another 5 or 10 years to go. What do I do with myself all day? So I talk to clients about, are you going to volunteer? Are you going to watch your grandkids? Are you going to spend time with your children? Are you going to travel? Are you going to um, take up pickleball? I mean, not everybody plays pickleball, right?
Everybody plays pickleball,
Yeah.
from what I hear. I don't play pickleball. I have not learned yet.
I do. I'll teach you. Anyway, no, I will not. But anyway, because it's not fun to teach anybody how to do something. Pickleball, anyway. But there's groups like Meetup where you can go and find common people that have common interests that you do. So we talk about that. That's part of the process of when you're going into retirement. How are you going to fill those 8 to 10 hours? And you don't want to fill it watching TV.
Yeah. Or shopping, because then your retirement budget will be out the window, right?
Stay out of the Amazon cart.
That makes life so much harder. So, okay, so talk to me a little bit about some of the interesting things that you've heard that people want to do. I mean, volunteering is clear, right? And you can find things for any type of organization. They all need help. They all need your time, talent, and treasure. But what are some other interesting things that clients have told you that they wanted to do?
Oh, I think they're very common. I don't think that I've had one that I would be like, wow, that's really interesting. A lot of people want to take up, more gardening than they had before. Yeah, they're people want to take up more, maybe get in a better exercise routine. But I don't think I've had anybody that's something that I was like, oh, wow, that's fantastic. I've heard people want to go like on mission trips, but I hear that a lot too.
Okay.
That people like to do those things.
All right. Very cool.
There's a ton of things out there you can do. You could use, we just did an episode a few weeks ago on AI. So you can use AI to figure that out.
Yeah, you can use AI to brainstorm ideas. I would strongly recommend that. So you've got your retirement income versus your regular monthly income. We've talked a little bit about how to get those numbers, right? I hear a lot of people struggle with that shift from spending that monthly income while saving for retirement to actually start spending with not as much coming in. How do you help people get over that?
That's a tough one because people, when they go into retirement, it's a total different mindset. So you have the accumulation phase, and your whole goal there is just to accumulate money, get the best rate of return you can for your risk tolerance. You don't want your investments to keep you up at night, so you want to make sure that they're invested correctly for you. Now we're going to totally shift, and we're not chasing rate of return anymore. We're not going aggressive. We want to have that income. So think about it as like a stool. So you have this stool, and your retirement's you're sitting on the stool for retirement, and you have all these legs of the stool. You want those legs to be as much guaranteed income that you have coming in. And that will give you the peace of mind. But people still get, oh, I can't spend that money. What happens if I live too long? Or I'm going to run out of money. And it's just a conversation that we keep having year after year after year. And a lot of clients, I would be like, well, I'm going to spend X. And then I'm like, okay, 2 years in, I'm like, you're not spending what you said you were going to spend. You're spending a lot less. What's going on? Well, I don't want to run out of money. Listen, we know we're not going to run out of money. We've got it planned. You're going to be fine. I don't know. I'm still so afraid. I'm like, please go on a trip. Please, for me, go on a trip. Go do something. But they don't. They're just afraid. Sometimes I think you almost need like there should be some side of a business where it's like, oh, maybe I should start that. New idea. What about coaching people from retirement, from working to retirement, and how to get them to let go of those fears about, running out of money or whatever it is that keeps them up.
Because that's hard to do. Right?
Yeah, it is hard.
So when you're looking at income after you retire. How do you help people feel confident about where that money is going to come from?
Well, we look at Social Security, and the biggest question I get, do you think it's going to be there? I don't know. There definitely has to be some changes in the Social Security system, but we do look at Social Security. I don't, when I'm planning, I don't use the cost, you get a little cost of living every year with Social Security. I don't include that. So I just assume that's non existent. And if you're younger, then we use either half or not at all. And then if you have it, bonus. But we look at all the income things that you have coming in, and it goes back to that stool. If we can get up that sound foundation with those legs, then
What are some of the legs?
so it could be your 401k.
Okay.
If you're fortunate enough to have a pension, not too many people are anymore, but that's a pension. You can build your own pension, and you can use annuities with lifetime income riders on them. That's a whole other thing. Clients is probably going to want a disclaimer in there, but too bad. I don't know what they have to give it to you. But you can build your own pension. So if I tell my female clients, if you could retire and you knew that every bit of your living expenses was going to be covered by some sort of income coming in, if it's an annuity we used with lifetime income, and if it was your Social Security, if it was your pension, if it was your rental income, if it was dividends, if I could tell you that no matter what, all your bills, maybe not your travel, but all your bills are going to be covered by just waking up in the morning. Doesn't matter what's going on in the market, doesn't matter if the market's up or if the market's down. We know that your income is going to cover your expenses. How would you feel? Would you
Pretty
feel
darn
okay?
good.
You would feel okay, right?
Pretty darn
So that's
good.
my goal, is to make sure that not just women, but everybody that I work with, that all their expenses, their fixed necessary expenses, are covered with income sources.
That's fantastic.
And then we use the investments to do all the other things that you want to do.
So I'm approaching 50.
I'm approaching 60. Actually, I am 60.
You are 60.
I am
You are
60.
60. But I'm approaching 50. I was super excited when my husband turned 50. The first thing I got was an AARP card in his name.
I do have an AARP card.
I got him one too. But what is the biggest thing that someone over 50 is missing?
Oh, if you're not doing your catch-up contributions. So, there's a limit of how much you can put into your 401ks and your IRAs. Mm-hmm. But once you turn 50, you have the ability to do a catch-up contribution. So if you're not taking advantage of that, you should be. Because a lot of us, if we were raising children or just, we're in the highest income earning years, right, in our 50s and 60s. And prior to that, you were raising children, or you were just trying to buy a house, or maybe you were just out having fun, right? And you didn't save enough. Mm-hmm. So now you need to catch up. And so you have that ability using that catch-up contribution.
Very cool. Does that work with the healthcare stuff too? Is there catch-up with that?
You mean
like HSAs and stuff?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't think I have an HSA, and I don't believe I have a catch-up. No. Okay.
Just curious, because that's one of those like tools for retirement too, right? Another leg of the stool is your HSA to cover
if you
healthcare.
have the ability to have an HSA.
Right.
Not too many people do. So an HSA is a health savings account, which comes into play with a high deductible plan. I have one because I have to pay for my own health insurance because I'm self-employed. So I have an HSA that I can save it to use to pay for my medical costs because I have a high deductible. But I don't use it at all. I just let it accumulate money, and I pay my expenses out of my regular incomes, because then I can use that HSA money in retirement. But one thing that we didn't talk about, but now that we're on medical, is making sure that you include your medical costs in your retirement budget. And it varies because, if you hear the commercials that happen to come between October and November or December that just bombard you about Medicare and Medigap and Medicare Advantage, there's a bunch of different costs that go into it. So you've got Part A that's free. You got to pay for Part B, which depends on your income prior to last 2 years of your employment. Then you have Part C potentially, Part D, which is the drugs. Part C is the Medigap, or you can, there's just a whole thing. You got to factor all that in. For some people, they're fine with a Medicare Advantage plan. I personally like the supplement plans better because they cover more, but they also cost more. But you got to factor in. So I say anywhere between $300 to $600 a month, depending if you're married or single, for healthcare coverage.
Yeah, because that's something that people tend to forget because it's just coming out of the paycheck for right now.
Well, and a lot of people think, well, I'm going to retire early. I'm going to retire at 62. I've put in my time. I'm going to collect my Social Security, which may or may not be the right decision. You may want to delay that. You need to work with a planner. But they're like, I'm going to do that. And I'll be like, okay, how are you going to afford, what happens if you get sick? Because now I personally pay $625 a month for healthcare. And I have a very high deductible. So I think when I calculate out my total healthcare costs for the year, it's somewhere around $15,000. So if you think, okay, I'm going to retire at 62, where's that $15,000 going to come from? And that's just for me.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm married and my spouse is retired too, and not of Medicare age, correct? We're talking prior to that. Where's that money going to come from? And then like, oh, I didn't know that. So guess what? You're working till 65.
So, all right. So let's talk about that age difference between when someone wants to retire versus when they don't. So I started my career at the call center for Daimler Chrysler, not Stellantis, not FCA, it's Daimler Chrysler, right? And it's union, and we would answer the calls in the back of the owner's manual. And I still remember that they were offering retirement packages. And I still remember this one lady crying because she couldn't afford to retire and she really wanted to. And it just wasn't an option for her. How do you work through that with people that may want to retire at 55, 60, 62 and just aren't there?
Those aren't easy conversations because I've just burst your bubble.
Yeah.
And it's a hard conversation to have, but it's better to have that conversation before you decided to make that decision and quit your job or whatever. But I did work with clients that got one of those buyout packages years ago from Ford. It's still Ford. But they came to me and they had this package and they were ready to go. Like, he just wanted to go. And I'm like, we'll just give him a name, Charlie. I'm like, Charlie, you can't. You can't go. I'm so sorry that you can't go, but these are the reasons why you can't go. But let's do this, this, and this. And when the next package comes out, you'll be ready. And he's like, okay. I mean, they went home. They were disappointed, but they did everything that I said. And you know what? They are so much better off because they would have been living so tight. Now we talk about, when I sit and talk to them, I'm like, okay, what are we going to do with these millions of dollars when you pass away? It has to go to your children. They wouldn't have had those millions. They have it now. And not that you need $1 million to retire. I'm not saying that. But in their circumstance, they would be able to accumulate that over time because they're not going to have to touch that money because they did all the things that I told them to do in the beginning, that they built those incomes, those stools, or built the legs on their stools. Not they didn't build the stool, but the legs on their stools. So they have all this extra money. And now we talk about, what are we going to do with the extra money? So it can be a tough conversation. But really, if you wanted to retire in your 50s, you should have started saving when you're in your 20s. Yeah. About your 18th birthday.
Or before.
Yeah, or did very, very well in life because it's very difficult to retire early.
So let's talk about debt. As I scroll through TikTok, I watch all these people with their pens and different colors working through budgets to figure out how to help people pay off debt. They've got tens of thousands of people hearting these little TikTok clips where they're talking about this. So debt is a real problem. How do you tackle that in terms of retirement?
The best thing is to go in retirement without any debt, because it just makes it a little bit more difficult. Now the house, I can go either way on the house. Personally, I'd rather have my house paid off before I retire, but I just bought my house when I was 58 years old. If I want to retire in probably 10 to 12 years, I mean, that's a big accomplishment to get. I can't say that word. That's a big nut to crack about that, to get it to where I could have that house paid off, but it is a goal
Mhm.
to have that, because wouldn't it be nice not to have a mortgage when you're retirement? You know that no matter what happens, you have your house, right? But if you're going in with $50,000 in credit card debt,
Yeah.
again, it all goes back to your budget. So now we have to factor that in. So I don't know what a $50,000, what is that, like a $500 a month payment, $600 a month payment, $1,000 a month payment, maybe probably $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
So just think, what could you do with that $1,000 a month if you weren't paying off debt?
Yeah. Adds up quick.
And you can get out of debt. You hear about it all the time.
Mhm.
People do it, but you have to want to. It has to really be a goal that you want to do. So my suggestion is pay it all off before you retire.
So, how do you guide people? We talked a little bit about getting towards retirement and in retirement and changing the investment strategy based upon your risk tolerance, right? Going from aggressive to more conservative, more guaranteed income. As people are getting closer to retirement, how do you help them move from that aggressive to maybe less aggressive strategies?
Well, I think I just have to say, do you remember 2008?
And we do.
And the market was down like, what, 38%?
Mm-hmm.
And if you were planning on retiring November 1st of that year, how much would your life have changed?
Yeah.
So it's just having to remind people what that experience was like, because you want to start that process probably a good 10 to 12 years before you retire. And if you're aggressive, that's fine. You can be aggressive when you're in your 20s and 30s and maybe 40s, or maybe you need to catch up. But at some point, you want to make sure that that income is coming in. So I use a bucket approach. So I have, for my first bucket is fixed income, cash, bonds, fixed annuities, CDs, that kind of stuff, bucket one. So I know that that money's going to cover you for the next 5 years. Bucket two is another somewhat safe investment, and that's going to cover you from probably 6 to year 15. So I've got 15 years of your income covered when you go into retirement. So if I can start setting that up a little bit earlier, the better off we're going to be, and have that in position than to say, okay, we've accumulated all this money, it's day one of your retirement, now I got to break it all up into these different buckets. We can start to see that process come into play. And then we have our growth money. You still need to be invested, because we're going to live a long time, right? We're going to keep pace with inflation and taxation. So we need to be saving for growth also. But I kind of think it goes back to that whole comment we were talking about with, people and feeling secure about their money. Is when I sit down with you, I'm going to age you, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
65 years old, and I say, listen, we've got your income covered till you're 80 and none of it's in the market. How do you feel about that?
Pretty good.
So the market crashed tomorrow, how are you going to feel?
Pretty good.
So, yeah, you got to work with a planner. You can't do this on your own. Maybe you can, but
When do you start working with a planner?
your first day you get a job. I mean, you think about it, people think, well, I don't have any money, I shouldn't work with someone.
Mm-hmm.
But how else are you going to know what to do? Like, the most important thing is learning to live on a budget, which we don't talk about.
Mm-mm.
We don't talk about it at all. So if I can teach you how to live on a budget and making sure you're paying yourself first, what that means is that you take the money that, if you're making $5,000 a month, and I know that might be a high number for some people, but just as a number.
Yeah.
I'm making $5,000 a month. I'm going to take 10% of that, which is $500. I'm going to put that away. And I'm not going to touch it. And then I'm going to live on the rest. Yeah. If you can learn that early. I mean, there's I don't remember the exact number, but there is a chart out there that says if you started saving $2,000 a year when you were 19 until you were 26 at a 10% rate of return, that by the time you were 65, you'd have $1 million. But if you waited until you were 35 and saved $2,000 a year at the same rate of return until you were 65, you'd only have I don't know, I could be wrong on my math, but like 600,000. Because you don't take advantage of that compounding. So when's the best time to talk to a financial planner? When you're a kid.
Right now.
Go sit with your parents. when they talk to theirs.
Okay. I think that's great advice, because I think, Emily Post sort of ruined it for most of us and said that it
Well,
was.
Kendra, you are aging yourself.
I do, because I Googled it at one point. That was even before AI. So it was that she said that talking about money was not okay.
Yeah.
It was bad manners. And so I think there was a study done by Ally Financial that said people were more comfortable talking about STDs than money.
Well, I'm not comfortable about talking about that for sure. I'd rather talk about money than that. But no, it's so true. We just don't talk about it, and women are the worst.
So how does a woman get more comfortable?
Well, she could come into one of my seminars. She could, just read books, podcasts. There's a ton of education out there. If anybody says that they didn't know something, it's probably because they just never Googled it.
How do I find seminars?
My seminars, well, you can check out my website, although we don't have any coming up right away. We have some starting in September that aren't posted, but we will get them on there. But you can take a class at the college. Mm-hmm. There's classes at the college. You can get your girlfriends together. Anybody that wants to put their girlfriends together, invite me over to their house. I will come over and teach you guys about money. So we'll have some wine. I don't drink any wine anymore, though. That gives me a headache. But we can have some fun, and we can do that. There's just a ton of ways.
That's great.
Books. Was at one of my seminars, my dinner seminars, and she's like, I want to get educated. What book would you recommend? I go, Investing for Dummies.
That's great.
That's the book I learned on.
So I think that the information that you've shared today is amazing. I think that there's a lot of things that people need to think about. And because we don't do this for a living like you do, I think we underestimate how much we don't know and how much we may not be necessarily making all of the right decisions as we go, just simply because there's so much we don't know, right, in what we do. And a planner like you has a lot of those answers, and it can help guide us as long as we have that vision. And I think taking action in that vision is what we need to do as people, to make sure that we have happy retirements.
Yeah, because isn't that what we're all working for?
Yeah.
And be honest, there's saving for retirement. There's and living life today, and people struggle with that, especially when you're younger, because you think, oh God, it's so many years away. I mean, I've got 40 years, I've got 50 years, whatever it is, before I'm going to get there. But it comes so fast. I mean, I turned 60, you turn 50, so, and it comes really quickly, and you don't want to be, and I've met with people who have struggled in their life and weren't able to save, and they come to me and they're like, well, what am I going to do? And I'm, I have to say, you're going to probably have to work for the rest of your life. But even if you can just put, $20 a week into your 401k, if you don't have a 401k, just an IRA, or if you do have a 401k and you're not using your employer's match, you're giving up free money. And even if you just did that, if they put in 3%, you put in 3%, you doubled your investment right away, and just sit there and let that grow. Yes, I understand your kids need this and your kids need that, but you also need to take care of yourself.
Yeah, we don't prioritize self-care enough. So, well, thank you so much, Paula, for answering all of these questions and letting me pick your brain about how to prepare best for retirement. I think one of the best things is definitely really having that vision and understanding what you want your retirement to look like, and to pick that vision early so that you have time to plan for it, right? And you're not just sticking money away. It has a goal and it has a purpose. So thank you.
You're welcome. But your vision can change.
It can.
It can.
Oh, definitely.
But if you start with something and it changes, we can work on those changes and make those things happen too.
Yeah.
When I thought about my retirement 20 years ago, it's not at all what I would have thought it looked like today. But
mine's still the same. I'm traveling all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my life didn't look like it does today than it did 5 years ago. So I'm a growing. Okay. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we look to see you look forward to seeing you again next time.
Thanks for watching Unstoppable. Do you have a question for Paula? Send it our way. To schedule a one-on-one consultation, give us a call. Unstoppable is brought to you by Paula Swain and the Financial Center for Women. Dream, grow, thrive.